Hey, peace and blessings. Rob YB Youngblood, your number one connector, coming at you on a beautiful Saturday, January 16th, 2021. And this is another episode of Thoughts of a Connector. It is a pleasure to be here, and I pray that you are doing well. And I pray that the content that I've been sharing over the last several weeks has been a blessing to you. If so, feel free to drop a comment, like, subscribe, and share with someone who could possibly benefit from what I have to say. It has been 3 weeks, and not since we started, but just 3 weeks of really overcoming a particular struggle that I have. And today's topic is transparency and how transparency leads to trust. And for the last 3 weeks, I've been overcoming a career situation where the position that I was working in got cut. And I haven't really been public with it, sharing it with too many people because, frankly, it's really no one's business, right? But for the sake of this conversation, I needed to be transparent because I want to drive home a point that transparency leads to trust. I had a conversation last night with a very sharp young lady who was about to graduate from college. And during our conversation, she opened up about her bouts with depression and, dealing with various traumatic experiences. Now, keep in mind, this was the very first time that I talked to this young lady. But her ability to be transparent allowed for our conversation to go to a level that most conversations don't go on the first call or first introduction. Most conversations are very surface. But when you become transparent, when you choose to open up to someone that you trust, that shows a level of trust that allows you to begin to build on trust. Because when you share something that's close to you with someone, it could hurt you, right? It could come back to you. But when you feel comfortable with giving away that information and you don't really mind the ramifications or the blowback from sharing your truth, then you really put your armor on. I'll give you an example. My father was murdered when I was 2. I grew up in a single parent home. I talk about that every single time that I speak. And whenever I share that, people will give their condolences or they'll apologize. They'll say, I'm sorry. And I'm not so much looking for that, to be honest. I'm not looking for someone to feel sorry for me because I didn't grow up with my father. But what I want to convey is the fact that I too have overcome traumatic experiences, that I too have had to deal with a major setback in my life, that I too have had to struggle, and I'm not a big deal. I think oftentimes people will see you as someone who is a big deal because you may be doing big things, or you might be riding high on social media, or you might be recognized for your local or state or national accomplishments. But in actuality, we are no big deal. Now, when you by yourself, you hype yourself up. Of course, I'm the man. You know what I'm saying? When I'm in the mirror and I'm looking at myself and I want to, give myself a pep talk, I am the man. But when it comes to being around other people, I don't believe in bigging yourself up. Let your work do the talking. Let your actions, let your results speak for you. You don't have to tell anybody you're the man if you're the man. If you're the woman, you don't have to tell nobody you're the woman unless you got to check them. But you don't have to do that. You let your actions do the talking. And so when it comes to being transparent, it allows you to release something on the inside of you that could potentially or has already hurt you, but you share it so that you can relate to the other person. And that is a key to building trust. Because in order for you to have a lasting relationship with someone, whether it's professional or personal, there has to be trust. I joke with people, and it's partially true, but coming from New York, we don't trust nobody because it's easy to get got, right? That's why we tell folks that visit New York, don't walk around with your eyes fixed on the skyscrapers. That's the first indication you're not from around there. And what do people do to people that's not from that city? They jack them, right? They'll pickpocket you. They'll say, "Hey man, come over here, man. I want to talk to you real quick." Right? So you often walk around guarded because you don't want to get got. And the same is true when it comes to establishing a new relationship, a new connection. You don't want to get got. And so we have to be careful with our transparency at times because we don't know how somebody can take that information and run with it. But transparency leads to trust. So my challenge to you, my encouragement to you is if you have dealt with a struggle, whether it's depression, whether it's a traumatic experience, whether it's a job loss, whether it's a divorce, whether it's a financial struggle, it's okay to be transparent about that. You know why? Because many people are dealing with it too. And when you get comfortable with that situation and you share it, I guarantee you will draw more people to you because most people suffer in isolation. They suffer in silence. They think they're the only ones that are dealing with what they're dealing with when in fact they're not. So if you are someone who has status or someone who is visible and it looks like you're making moves and people are looking at you like, oh my gosh, like you making it, and you share something from a vulnerable place, other people will respect you even more because number one, you didn't have to share that information. And number two, you will be able to relate to them because in their mind, they're going to say, man, he's just like me. She's just like me. I had a situation where I had a speaking engagement. I was talking to a group of young men, young boys. And at the end of my conversation with these young men, these young boys, one young man stood behind and waited for everyone to leave. And when he approached me, he had tears running down his face. And he said, Mr. Youngblood, you just don't know how your talk impacted me because I grew up without my father too. My father was killed too. And it's hurting me. And he and I, to this day, are building a powerful relationship because he was transparent. So I encourage you, build up the strength to be transparent, to release what's been holding you back so that you can not only build trust, but you can build trusting relationships. I want to give a quick shout out to the ladies of Zeta, Phi Beta, Sorority Incorporated, who celebrate their Founders Day today, January 16th. Ladies, enjoy your day. And for everyone else that's watching, be encouraged, be blessed, but most of all, share the faith. And remember, transparency leads to trust. We'll talk soon. God bless. Peace.